Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Albaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Albaugh.
Good morning across the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. I'm Todd Albaugh. It is Friday, TGIF. For May 19th, 2023, along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer on the board. We welcome you into hour number 3, last hour of the last day of the last show of this week. Mr. Zommers, we have made it to Mimosa Friday.
That we have. That's a lot of last. Last hour, the last show of the last day of the last week. Or not the last week. No, not
the last week.
No, the show's not canceled.
We hope not. We hope not. Perhaps some changes brewing in the wind. Well, more on that in a few days. But no, not the last show that we know of. We'll continue on here and appreciate everyone helping us out. Continue on. Appreciate you listening. That's what keeps us going. We don't get advertisers. We're not here if we don't have ratings, and so we appreciate everybody for helping us out and listening in. It is a two-way street. We love to have it when you call in and tell us your opinion. Give us an opinion, or if you want to go to the Milwaukee Brewers game on Tuesday, we still have these tickets available. Here's the deal. The Milwaukee Brewers play the defending world champion Houston Astros in Milwaukee coming up. We have 4 tickets for this coming Tuesday's game. It is the 23rd of May. Game time is 6:40. No, it's a little bit late, get it? But game time, 6:40 this Tuesday. If you can go to the game, give us a call. Answer the question of which, we'll take either name. There are 2 former Milwaukee Brewer baseball players that went by the name or the nickname of Moose. Moose Blank and Moose Blank. One played on the World Series team in '82. The other much more recently. We'll take either name, the former Milwaukee Brewers, one of the 2 that went by the nickname of Moose. And the first person that gets it right, you have a choice. You can either take all 4 tickets for the game, as long as you can use them, or just take 2 and we'll give 2 to somebody else. Give us a call, 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155. Dial now. We want to hear from you. Which or either one. There are 2 former Milwaukee Brewers baseball players that went by the nickname or the name Moose. Give us one of those, and you are on your way, either a pair of tickets or we'll let you have all 4 if you can use them. For Milwaukee's game against Houston on Tuesday, give us a call, 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155. Don't forget, you can listen to the Milwaukee Brewers baseball all season long on our 2 flagship stations, beginning in Southwest Wisconsin with WRCE, News from the Center, AM 1450 or FM 107.7. Or you can also listen over at Oshkosh on Oshkosh Air Support, WISS, the Big 1100 AM across the valley. Richland Center, Oshkosh, your 2 key Brewer stations on the Civic Media Radio Network in conjunction with the Brewers Radio Network and our fine sponsors, the ones that bring you these games or make them possible each and every day. Looking for the answer to give us one of the 2 names of the Milwaukee Brewers. There are 2 former Brewers that went by the nickname of Moose. Moose Blank or Moose Blank. Give us a call, 715-388-7155. We have Mary on the line from Mosinee. Mary, how are things in beautiful Mosinee?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Do you have an answer for us?
Yes, Mike Moustakis.
You are absolutely correct. Mike Moustakis was answer number 1. Do you want to take? You want to take 2 tickets? Do you want to take all 4?
Nice. All 4 would be great.
You got it. You and 3 of your closest friends or family are going to be on your way to AmFam Field in Milwaukee this coming Tuesday as they take on the Houston Astros. Congratulations. We appreciate. Are you listening on Bull Falls Radio or on the app?
Bull Falls Radio. radio.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate you listening up there in Wausau, and you enjoy the game. I've been there now a couple of times. They truly are great seats. Have you been to a game before?
I have, yeah.
All right. Well, great. You're going to enjoy these tickets. They're really great, and look forward to doing that. Hang on to the line. Aaron will take your details. We need your email, your phone number, and your full name, and Aaron will take that off the air, and you'll be all set to go on Tuesday. All right? You enjoy the game, and thanks for listening to us on Bull Falls Radio up in Wausau.
Thank you.
All right. Hold the line, Mary. Thank you so much. That is Mary in Mosinee. Congratulations to her. The other name that we were looking for, or would have taken, is Moose Haas. So Moose Haas and Moose Mustakis, the two names that are Mike Mustakis was the two names we're looking for. Mr. Zommers will get her the information there from the email and phone numbers and whatnot. She is on her way. Great that we had somebody from Wausau. Really think that's fantastic. And listening to us up there, Mosinee. Of course, airport up there in Mosinee. And whenever you used to do the weather, you used to get the report from Mosinee up there in central Wisconsin. Great area of the state up in Mosinee. Thanks for listening to us on Bull Falls Radio, WXCO, up in Wausau, Mary. We really appreciate that. So Moose Haas, just in case you were wondering, Moose Haas was born Brian Edmund Moose Haas. So Moose was his nickname. Brian Edmund Moose Haas, former professional baseball player, pitched for Milwaukee from 76 to 87. Come back and talk about Mike Mustakis as well and more. Stay with us on the Todd Albaugh Show. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Can we go back? This is the moment. Tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over. So we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us.
Welcome back to the Todd Albaugh Show. It's now 10:15 on a Friday, May 19th, 2023. Hello, Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer. Todd Albaugh with you on a Friday, TGIF. Congratulations again to Mary up in Mosinee, listening to us on Bull Falls Radio in Wausau. Appreciate her and everyone else up there, the great community of Wausau, listening in this morning. Correct answer we were looking for in that Brewers trivia, either Moose Haas, who played for the Brewers from 76 to 87, appeared in the 82 World Series as a member of the Milwaukee Brewers. Great pitcher, Moose Haas. The other name we would have accepted was Mike Mustakis, born Michael Christopher Mustakis, plays for third base for the Colorado Rockies right now.
Also, the origin of his nickname is much more obvious.
Yes.
Since his last name,
during
Mustakis.
During the games, he was often greeted by calls of Moose, a nickname given by his Little League coach, along with fans and the media. So there you go. Either Mike Mustakis or Moose Haas were the two names we were looking for on our Brewers trivia this morning. Mary is on her way to the game this Tuesday. Congratulations, Mary. Thanks for listening with three of her closest friends and family in those club-level seats. We'll be giving away tickets all season long across our shows on Civic Media, so make sure you're listening all the time. You never know, especially during those home stands where we're going to give away tickets. And don't forget, if you can't make it down in Milwaukee, if you didn't win tickets, no problem. We've got you covered on the Civic Media Network. You can listen to the Brewers all season long on our two flagship stations. In Oshkosh, it's Oshkosh Air Support, WISS, the big 1100 AM across the valley, from Shawano to Sun Prairie, and every place in between on the eastern side of the state, AM 1100 in Oshkosh, and on the southwest part of the state, my home station, WRCE in Richland Center, AM 1450 and FM 107.7, news from the center, in the Driftless, God's Country, Richland Center. We appreciate all of our fine sponsors for both WRCE and WISS in Oshkosh. Great sponsorships. We cannot do it without the partnership of our sponsors. We thank them, and thank you for listening. Because no matter win or lose, particularly these home games, you get to hear the great Bob Uecker on the call. Nobody does it better. And we have to enjoy each and every game, each and every season with Bob Uecker that we have. So always great to talk about Milwaukee Brewers baseball with you on a Friday. Want to change over to a story this morning here. we'll have a couple of lighter things in the last half hour, but just want to make sure that we're touching on this whole issue of the 14th Amendment. Because we're going to hear a lot about it over the weekend. That's my prediction on the Sunday talk shows and whatnot, as we talk more about the debt ceiling and Republicans refusing so far to raise the debt ceiling. President Biden saying he's not going to just give in and do all these kind of mega Republican demands. And remember, this is the important thing to remember. Doesn't matter whether it's a Republican or Democrat in the White House. Congress has never used the debt ceiling as a bargaining tool for legislation. Remember, we had that clip from Trump when he was president, when he was in the White House? Reporters then asked President Trump about the debt ceiling. He said no. He called it sacred. He said that's just something you don't use as a negotiating tool. He said, I've talked to Schumer, I've talked to Pelosi, I've talked to Republicans. It's just something you don't do. That's a sacred thing, the debt ceiling. And you don't negotiate that. And then last week in that so-called town hall, which was nothing more than a propaganda piece on CNN, Caitlin Collins said, why do you now believe in holding out and not raising the debt ceiling? Why do you want to use this as a bargaining chip now for Republican? He said, quote, because now I'm not president anymore. I mean, the arrogance of this dude, right? I mean, what a stereotypical politician. Only the thing is with Trump, he doesn't hide it. You know, a typical politician or a stereotypical politician say, well, you know, I certainly believed in that at the time. And fundamentally, I do believe in it. But I think times have changed and we're in a different situation now than we were then. And I think that extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. That's more of a politician answer. But Trump just blatantly says, hey, I'm not president anymore. It's different when I'm not president. And you know what? His base loves it. Loves it when he says stuff like that. When he's just an out-and-out liar. They love it. When he just admits that he lies and gets away with it. And the arrogance. They love it. Soak it up like it's sunshine, vitamin D on the first sunny day of spring. Love it. That's why Trump's going to be the nominee. Because nothing matters to these people. And they love it when he acts like that. So anyway, what Democrats are saying is, and again, I want to be careful because news this morning is that Kevin McCarthy and Republicans are saying they do see an opportunity. At least that's what they're saying publicly, to get something done. And I want something to get done. I do not want us to default. I don't want us to drive off this fiscal cliff. Would not be good for anyone. But you're going to hear a lot about this on the morning talk shows and on the Sunday talk shows this weekend. The 14th Amendment. Senate Democrats have begun to push for honoring the nation's debts without trying to bring Republicans along. They are currently circulating a letter urging President Biden to invoke the fourth section of the 14th Amendment to override the debt ceiling. That section reads, quote, the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payments of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned, unquote. Shall not be questioned. Republican congressman wrote that section to prevent, Republican congressman wrote that section to prevent Democratic opponents who hated the newly powerful government that had won the Civil War. You know what our friend Matt Flynn likes to say, you're not woke if you don't know history. So this is a historical amendment. A lot of history involved here. It goes all the way back to the Civil War. Republicans, as Matt Flynn likes to say, who are then the good guys, were trying to prevent Democratic opponents after the Civil War from changing the terms of repayment of the debt at the time. Democrats called for turning gold interest payments into payments in paper money. That change would have significantly degraded the value of the debt. It would have also destroyed confidence in the government, a result those who had just lost the Civil War quite liked. Congress intended the 14th Amendment to assert the power of the federal government over the states once and for all, making sure that no one could discriminate against individuals within the states or make war on the United States from within. The 14th Amendment was an attempt to make it impossible for those trying to destroy the nation to carry out their plans. Very important. Senator Peter Welch, Democrat of Virginia, told Burgess Everett and Sarah Ferris of Politico, quote, "It's not about being comfortable with Biden or anyone else. It's about the House. Kevin's in shackles," meaning Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, says Kevin's in shackles. He's in leg and arm and handcuffs. And frankly, I don't think he's got much capacity to negotiate and very little capacity to advance a deal, unquote. Welch, who served 8 terms in the House before moving to the Senate in 2023, said, he added, "I'm quite pessimistic about McCarthy. He is very constrained. I think we're heading towards a decision on the 14th Amendment," unquote. Now, interestingly, Senator Josh Hawley, Republican of Missouri, big mega guy, has indicated he's on board with the idea of Biden invoking the 14th Amendment. Quote, "I think if I were president, I would be tempted," unquote, to use the 14th Amendment, Hawley said, because I would just be like, quote, "Listen, I'm not going to let us default. So end of story. Y'all will do whatever you want to do. But I'm not necessarily giving him that advice. I'm against my interest. It's against my interest," he says. Hawley's defense of the idea suggests that Republicans are eager to find a solution to the crisis that does not involve them. I bet they are. So that they can condemn the Democrats for whatever they do. So see, Hawley's kind of setting the trap there for Biden, right? He's saying, well, hey, if I was president, I wouldn't let us default. I'd use the 14th Amendment. And then if Biden goes ahead and does it, believe me, Hawley will be the first one to say, "I can't believe Biden did that." That's how it works. But I think, in an odd way to get there, Hawley's 100% right. Saying that you just say, look, I'm not going to let us default. End of story. You guys do whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to let it happen. Hawley, of course, is saying that's against his interest because if Biden stops the default, in many ways, he'll be a hero, right, to a lot of people. But again, Republicans will say, well, now we have a constitutional crisis. And ultimately, if Biden were to invoke the 14th Amendment to force the United States to pay these debt, to raise the debt ceiling, it could, keyword could, land up on the U.S. Supreme Court. Remember, back in the Civil War, Lincoln took great latitude in his power. Great latitude. He made decisions as president, Lincoln did, to save the Union. That's all that mattered, was to save the Union. And so he took liberties. He said, look, I'm looking at the law. I'm a lawyer. I think I have these powers, but I don't know. The Supreme Court's going to finally rule, but they're so slow. Hopefully by the time that they rule whether I was right or wrong, the war will be over and we'll have won the war. Lincoln wasn't 100% sure that he had the power to do what he did as president in order to save the Union, but he was willing to take the chance for his actions to be unconstitutional if it meant saving the country and ultimately ending slavery. So one of the many reasons that Abraham Lincoln, in my opinion, was the most important, consequential, powerful, and best president in United States history. He had chutzpah. He had guts. He was a risk taker. in order to save the country. And it may come, I mean, this point is well taken. Senator Peter Welch of Virginia saying that he's not even necessarily blaming Kevin McCarthy. He's saying basically because of the Wacko Caucus, the Freedom Caucus, the Mega Caucus, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Gates and all those goofballs, they're shackling McCarthy. So Biden may well have to use the 14th Amendment. We will see. We'll come back. Lighten things up. There is new ice in Starbucks. What a switch of issues. We'll talk about when we come back.
You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love.
Welcome back to the Tower Ball Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 10:33 on a Friday morning, TGIF. Cold as ice. You see there was like Jägermeister involved in the video or something like that?
Yeah, the official lyric video for Cold as Ice by Foreigner, it starts off, there's like not a rink, but a plane of ice, and a shot glass slides across it, and then a frosty bottle of Jägermeister slides next to it, and it's like, own the night responsibly, Jägermeister. I'm like, what does this have to do with Foreigner?
Well, there you go. I had a very bad experience years and years and years ago. Like, it was like college, even before I really had a drink. I mean, I had a bad experience with a couple of Jägermeister shots, and I'll never be able to drink this stuff again. Just
fair enough. It's
nasty,
a strong flavor.
Nasty Jägermeister. Anyway, we're talking about ice. Are you passionate about your ice? Some people are. Some people really are passionate. Whether they get cubed ice or half moon shaped ice or crushed ice. What's your favorite kind of ice? 715-388-7155. 715-388-7155. What is your favorite kind of ice? Ice, baby?
I got to tell you, that's not my favorite kind of ice. It's fine. It's fine.
That's fine.
But I like to drink my water without ice.
Really? See, my mom is an anti-ice person too.
Yeah, I'm more of a, not necessarily room temperature, but not like freezing cold water person. Yeah. But at the same time, chewing on ice cubes can be fun. Whether or not it's good for your teeth is another matter.
Yeah. See, I don't like to chew on ice, but I don't like room temperature drinks that often. I like a good cold beverage. I'm a big ice.
It depends what it is.
I'm a big ice person.
Although I will say, when I do have ice and things, like if it is, let's say, an old fashioned or something like that, I really like the huge ice cubes where you just put like one in the middle of your,
I like the big round
glass.
Ones. Yeah. I don't get a chance to try those. Like maybe once or twice I've had them.
Yeah, same.
Something like that, like with a nice fine whiskey, just to kind of sip on like that. And very nice. I'm a big crushed ice person.
I'm not.
Oh, really? So I think it comes from my time back in the RC, back in Richland Center. People in Richland Center will remember we had the old Rexall drugstore downtown and would go after school, and Betty Umbihan would be behind the counter at Rexall Drug, and I would order myself a cherry Coke. And back in the day at Rexall Drug, they actually had a soda fountain, carbonated water. So you would put the Coke syrup in, and then the carbonated water, and then the cherry syrup, and then crushed ice. Oh, I mean, talk about a beverage that will just send you through the roof. A cherry Coke made fresh by Betty Umbihan at the Rexall Drugstore, Richland Center. That was absolutely the best thing. And I think that's where I got hooked on crushed ice. Because as you drank the drink, the cherry Coke, there would still be crushed ice, and that crushed ice would kind of absorb that cherry syrup a little bit, so it's kind of like cold candy at the bottom of the glass after you were done.
And I think that's something that would not happen if you just poured a can of soda or whatever.
No, it had to be a homemade cherry Coke at Rexall Drug.
I was going to provide some anti-crushed ice rhetoric here, but then when you described that, it makes perfect sense.
You're not going to rain on my crushed ice parade? All right, thank you.
Because that just makes sense. Yeah, that sounds good.
It was
like a slushie.
It was. That's exactly kind of like a slushie. Also enjoy a good cherry slush. That's also very good as well. What is your favorite kind of ice cube? Are you particular about your ice? Give us a call, 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155. Well, here's why we bring it up. Starbucks is changing their ice. You got it. Starbucks changing its ice cubes. Will its customers have a meltdown? Duh. That's what the story says. Customers who order cold beverages will now sip on nugget ice in their drink. Nugget ice. Ice pieces which are smaller than the chain's current cubes. Ice is a current ingredient for the coffee, is a key ingredient, rather, for the coffee giant, especially since its handcrafted beverages now account for about 75% of its sales. Did you know that? You were a former barista at Starbucks, right? As was I. Yeah. I'm not sure. I worked at Starbucks in 2007. But now ice beverages, cold beverages, are 75%.
That sounds about right.
Of Starbucks sales.
Because I don't know about when you worked there, but I know when I worked there, everyone just gets ice stuff. If you're there at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, you're getting a black coffee. Yeah. And if you're there any other time of day, you're getting something iced.
I worked at the Starbucks on Marco Island in Florida when I needed a part-time job. That's where it started in 2007. And so down there you had a lot of kind of expat true Italians. So there was literally no other place to get coffee on Marco Island. So they'd come in and do their best we could to make him a proper espresso shot.
Espresso,
right, yeah. For the Italians. So they would drink that. But yes, a lot of the younger people especially would come in for all kinds of frappuccinos. At the time they had one it was like a dreamsicle frappuccino. It was delicious. It was like an orange dreamsicle flavor frappuccino. I don't think they have it anymore.
They've got a lot of those cycling through and limited flavors, and some that even when I worked there I never had, like the elusive tie-dye frappuccino that everyone was all over just because of the color. But apparently the taste, not great.
Not great. Well, I wonder why all those dyes and everything in there. I wonder why. Anyway, so Starbucks saying the ice is apparently a flashpoint for its customers. Initial reactions to the new ice on Reddit are mixed, but passionate. Some note that it's chewier or flakier and claim it's similar to the ice used at Sonic and the coffee bean. The so-called pellet ice does have some fans, but other people are worried that it will water down the drinks or change the texture of their frappuccinos. The nuggets also don't melt any faster, the company said, and the switch to nuggets does not mean customers will get any less ice, since baristas are using the same ice scoop. The company's new iteration of ice has a resoundingly positive response in tests, according to Starbucks. Starbucks is revamping a few of its drinks for summer. Last week it announced that a refresher drink that is not diluted with water will cost an additional $1 because the company said it requires extra ingredients.
It does.
And it does. That's something I don't see. A lot of people get really ticked off. Like they'll order, they'll say, I want an iced coffee with no ice, or I want a cold brew with no ice. And then they get ticked off because you charge them more. Well,
they're getting a lot more cold brew.
A lot more cold brew.
Especially once I had somebody come in who ordered, you sometimes have people who try to scam it. You know,
right.
Like Starbucks is one of those very much customer first places where if you don't like your drink, they'll make you another one. That's just how it is. That's the nice thing to do. But some people tried to take advantage of that. And one person ordered a mocha frappuccino, like with extra mocha chips, with extra ice, extra milk, and just extra listed off every ingredient. And then when we only gave this individual the size that they ordered instead of basically 2 whole frappuccinos for the price of one, they were upset. And we're like, okay, now we're closed. We already stayed open an extra 2 minutes to make this for you. So good night.
Yeah, no, some people always try to take advantage of that stuff, and that's unfortunate. But so anyway, they're charging more if you get this new drink that does not require ice, which I'm fine with that. New Starbucks CEO Laxman Narasimhan sees room for improvement in the business, which includes installing new equipment. Starbucks also has a goal of cutting its water usage by half in 2030. Obviously, for coffee, you can't cut the water usage, but maybe they mean like in the dish room or whatever. I don't know. Seems pretty...
and I know I looked up some more info about this too, and it looks like these ice makers are more efficient.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. Starbucks said in a statement the new ice machines, well, there it is, use less water. It'll be rolling out over all of our stores the next several years. So there you go. Less ice at Starbucks, apparently, or different kinds of ice. Do you have a feeling on ICE, 715-388-7155. Again, area code 715-388-7155. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. In the meantime, we're going to switch over to another story but following today. Want to talk about? I haven't talked a lot about this so far. Did when it first happened, but I've not talked a lot about it. The writers' strike going on right now. And the Writers Guild of America striking, whether it's TV shows or movies or other writing, because they're not getting paid what they deserve. And it's not just their hourly wage, but it's something called residuals, all right? And so one of the writers on strike tweets this today, says, this is one of the scariest things about writing for a streaming show. They could just yank your show off the platform, never to be seen again. No DVD, no VOD purchases, no nothing. It's akin to book burning. And it's a story. I'm going to read part of the story here in Deadline.com. But this is a great point. Because a lot of writers will make their money not just on so let's say you write for a TV show. And most shows have to run for at least 4.5 to 5 seasons in order to have enough content to go into syndication. So the way that it works, I'm not necessarily an expert, but I have a few friends that are writers and entertainment industry. And essentially, the way it works is if you are a writer on one of these shows, a sitcom, and it goes into syndication, you get a residual every time it airs or every time it's picked up somewhere. You also get a residual back in the old days when TV shows or movies would go on to first VHS tapes and then DVD. But now, of course, everything's going to streaming. And this has been one of this is why Toddy doesn't necessarily like the stream. I'm a fan of the DVD. Because from a personal standpoint, if a streaming service pulls off the show or movie I want to see, I can't find it. Or it's very hard to find, or I got to go out and buy it somewhere, buy a streaming version of it. If I have the DVD in my hot little hands, I can just throw it in. I can watch it anytime. From a writer's standpoint, every time Todd goes out and buys a DVD, they get a residual. They get a payment off of that. But if a show is only on a streaming service, so you see this all the time now. Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, Apple TV, Paramount Plus, go right down the list. Some of these shows, if they're successful on streaming, they have taken a few of them, like Picard, Star Trek Picard. You could also go to Best Buy or whatever, and you could buy it on a DVD or a Blu-ray disc. But many don't. And if it doesn't get on DVD and the streaming service just simply says, okay, we're done with that, we're yanking it, that writer who spent all the time writing that show doesn't get another dime. So the story in Deadline, Disney removes dozens of series from Disney Plus and Hulu, including Big Shot, Willow, and Dollface. Disney is starting to pull content from streaming with dozens of series and specials slated to leave Disney Plus and Hulu on May 26th, according to Deadline. The titles which are being removed from Disney's streaming service globally include Disney Plus's Willow, Big Shot, Turner and Hooch, The Mighty Ducks Game Changers, Just Beyond, Diary of the Future President, and the list goes on and on. The list features largely short-lived series specials and direct-to-streaming movies. The move comes with a content impairing charge of $1.5 billion to $1.8 billion and was announced during the recent Disney earnings call on May 10th. So this is a big deal to people who are in the writing industry. And you get a sense now of why these folks are on the picket lines. And we talked about this before. Again, it's not understanding an industry. And yes, there are some people that if you're a writer for a major television show that goes on for 15 years, like Grey's Anatomy, yeah, you do well. But the percentage of people that make that kind of gig is very small. Most writers are struggling. They're continually writing manuscripts and trying to pitch shows. And it's very expensive in Hollywood and New York. Of course, some people now you can telecommute, but many times you have to be there to kind of get your face out there and to basically lobby and to pitch. And so it takes a long time for some of these writers to get a break. And then when a streaming service comes along and just pulls your work, you don't get paid later on. Important to understand, and we support the Writers Guild of America in their efforts. Back with Board Game of the Week, what we're thankful for, and Mimosa Friday after this on the Todd Albaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to the Civic Media Radio Network, Todd Albaugh Show. It is 10 minutes before the hour of 11 o'clock. That is 10 minutes before As Goes Wisconsin with Kristen Bry and Jane Matnair. You do not want to miss their Friday shows. It is like a party for 3 hours. A party of information, a party of the senses, a party for the spirits to lift you into the weekend. As Goes Wisconsin from 10 until 2 with Kristen and Jane. You are not going to want to miss it. Great show, as always. Then at 2 o'clock on Bull Falls Radio, WXCO in Wausau, the home. Well, it's actually Mosinee, but they listen on Bull Falls of our winners today for Brewers ticket trivia. Moose Haas, Moose Bastakis, our answers today. And Mary from Mosinee on her way with 3 of her best friends and family down to AmFam Field in Milwaukee on Tuesday night to watch the Brewers take on the Houston Astros. You can be there as well in club seats, not just by listening to our show, although we appreciate it. We'll give away more tickets in future days. You can listen across the Civic Media network of programming each and every day. Opportunities to win Milwaukee Brewer tickets. And remember, you can listen to the Brewers on AM 1450 and FM 107.7 on WRCE News from the Center in Richland Center, and also on AM 1100. AM 1100, Oshkosh, WISS Oshkosh Air Support in the eastern part of the state on the Milwaukee Brewers Radio Network here on the Civic Media Radio Network. And we thank our fine sponsors for that. So at 2 o'clock then on WXCO Bull Falls today is the Chad Holmes Show with Chad Holmes. Always a great program. Live from Wausau, somebody who lives there is part of the community, does a great job of promoting central Wisconsin. Chad Holmes. At 2 o'clock across the rest of the network, it is Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian. Luke Mathers, Brian Kelly. Great show, as always. You never know what tangent they're going to go down. Dueling Tangents at 2. At 3 o'clock, it is Matt Flynn Direct. Lines are open. All callers taken. You're not woke if you don't know history. Great program. You're not going to want to miss it. Matt Flynn Direct from 3 until 4. At 4 o'clock, it is the Devil's Advocate. It's never personal. Only politics with Crudy and Dom, the Devil's Advocates, from 4 until 6. At 6 o'clock, Native Roots Radio, news from a Native American perspective. And at 8 o'clock, it is Rick Smith, Across America. Another great lineup today on Civic Media. It is 10:52, time once again for Board Game of the Week.
On the scene here, we have Aaron Zommers ready for the Board Game of the Week. Would you mind telling us what it is?
Yes.
Oh, so you do mind, so you're not going to tell us?
Yes. Okay, no, I am going to tell you.
All right, very good. Appreciate it. Rapunzel. Anyway, go. Sorry again.
Yes, it is Tsuro. Tsuro.
Say it again.
Tsuro.
Yes.
T as in Tom,
Yeah.
S as in Sam,
Yes.
URO.
Churro. All right. Is that French? I don't know what that is.
It is, I don't know exactly.
How American is that? If I don't understand something, I just say, is that French?
It is very much not French.
Okay,
it is,
very good.
I don't know exactly which Asian language because a lot of them share the same
all right, very
syllables
good.
and stuff.
Yeah.
That is just my ignorance. Pardon my ignorance. on that.
Mine as well. So
It's
go ahead.
about, it is not about, it is exactly 2 to 8 players. Takes about 15 minutes, and it's pretty easy to play. So the main concept is you have a board that has boundaries, and you have a little token. And every turn, you play a tile. They all have different interlocking paths. And your goal is to be the last one standing. Because once you have a path available for your token, it has to travel all the way. You can't stop moving. So you don't want to crash into a wall.
All right.
So you try and set up these interlocking paths for yourself that you can keep going in circles or something, while the other people, you can try and sabotage them and get them to run into the walls.
All right. It's a sabotage game.
Potentially.
All right.
You still have to play like right in front of where you're going, but once you get close to other people, it could get pretty dicey. But it's pretty simple, and it's a fun concept, and it costs $30, so not too pricey there.
Not too pricey at all.
And it is also notable because, as I said, 2 to 8 players, and it's pretty quick, so it's a good party game, because a lot of games you only have 4 players or so. And I don't know, my family is 6 people, so that already doesn't work.
But if you have an appropriately sized family for this game, it works.
Right. So, yeah. So that's one that works with my family, and if everyone's home.
Right. Well, very
So,
good.
yeah.
And how
Tsuro.
much is it again?
$30.
$30 for Tsuro. All right, very good. Board game of the week with Mr. Aaron Zommers. We always look forward to nervous anticipation. That's probably a game you could take outside, right, Mr. Zommers, as long as the wind's not blowing.
Yeah, definitely, because it's not like cards or paper like Monopoly money or something. It's tiles and little plastic tokens.
I always enjoyed a good tactile game.
Yeah, it's a good one you could play on a picnic table or something.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. Any plans for the weekend, Mr. Zommers?
Actually, yes. Meeting up with some of my friends from Manitowoc and going to the annual Rowland's Brew Fest, or Beer Fest in Chilton.
In Chilton? It's been years since I've been in Chilton.
This is the 3rd one I will have gone to. You get a nice little commemorative mug, and it's just a bunch of craft breweries who set up stations, and you go around and get a mug if you're adventurous, or more likely a half a mug of all these different beers and try them. And we're going to be making some pretzel necklaces too.
Oh, those are fantastic.
And because it's just fun.
It is fun. Do you get like the not curly, but I mean like the ones that are braided? They look like not really a figure 8, but you know what I mean? Do you go that way, or do you like get like the more of the bready pretzels and like use a needle and like go through and like string them that way?
Yeah, just like the regular twist pretzels, not braided or anything, and then just take string, run it through all of them, and tie it up.
And put that around your neck. You just, yeah. I mean, I see that. Like you said, I've been to the Midwest Beer Festival here in Madison a couple, 3 times, and it's a great time. And as long as you kind of pace yourself and don't go overboard,
that's important.
It's very, very important. Or you set up a ride afterwards, or an Uber or a taxi, something like that. Don't want anyone getting pulled over or causing any sorts of accidents. But that's great. You'll be in beautiful Chilton over the weekend. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. That's good. I have no huge plans. I might check out the farmers market a little bit on Saturday.
I should do that too.
And then on Sunday, going to the Lion King here in Madison. So looking forward to that. Yeah, nervous anticipation. So I've never seen that show live.
Me either.
Speaking of Disney shows, I forgot the most ingredients, Mr. Zommers. I'm sorry. So we'll simply raise our cups, our glasses, and say, Mr. Zommers, who lives like we do?
We do.
We do. Thankful for all of you. Thankful for family and friends, and making a great week. Mr. Zommers, a quick thankful attitude for gratitude this week?
Yeah, I'm thankful that even though I felt like crap after vaccines, that's a very temporary thing.
Yes, temporary indeed. Thankful for vaccines. Thankful for all the people in the medical community, the firefighters, the police officers, those who keep us safe.
Yes.
And thank you for all of our listeners, all of our great guests this week as well. And we'll see you next week. Stay tuned. Kristen, Bride, Jane Matnair are next on As Goes Wisconsin. Make it a great weekend in Wisconsin, everyone. We'll see you back here on Monday. Until then, this is Todd Albaugh on Civic Media, reminding you, keep banging your drum.